Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Now recently I got sent some gifts from the gods, and by gifts I mean opal, and by gods I mean Pulitzer opal, and one stood out in particular, and that is this one. It's really nice, gem grade Mintabie, but you can see here there's just this big sand spot in the middle. Now my initial reaction to it is perfect. If that sand spot's just on the top surface there, we can just get through that green layer, get through that potchy layer, and then bam, we're onto this insane color down here. Will that work out? You never know because it's Mintabie, but I'm willing to find out today. That is the plan. We'll just get the sintered diamond. We will nick this one off. We'll try to shape it up a little bit. I don't know what shape to go for now. Maybe a fairly organic kind of off triangle, though I want to keep the edges nice and rounded because that'll make it far easier for setting, and it should be pretty good if we can just get through that sand and green. If you look at the back here, it's just coming through to the color now, and you can see the little Mintabie sand in there. I've already placed a couple stencils on the back here and nothing really matched up well, so I think I'm gonna go freehand on this one. Hopefully we get that red, blue, orange bar towards the back there. We can't go right for the back here because that'll get too close to the backing. We could bring that in and have a double-sided stone, but what we're aiming for is that bright yellow just there. That band just under that thin layer of potch here as well. So it's always scary to peel through layers, but we have to get through the sand anyway. If the sand penetrates all the way through, then we're in huge trouble, but we're gonna hope that's not the case. Otherwise, it'll cut off all of that and we'll end up with this corner over here, which is still pretty cool. Only one way to find out. Let's do it. Alright, 80 grit, sintered diamond. 80 grit because even though a lot of the opal is exposed, this is Mintabie. This stuff doesn't mess around. You need to get started on the 80 grit. Even if the color is actually exposed, I tend to start off with the 80 grit just to get any of that potchy kind of stuff off, or any of the inclusions. It just needs to go with the 80 grit. The only time I don't suggest using the 80 grit is if you think that it's gonna have a bit of a chipping problem, which we will actually have in this one here, so a good one to learn from. But here I'm just getting through the sand. By the time I got through the sand, you could see that we were starting to lose that green bar and we were getting into that jelly kind of potchy layer. So unfortunately, I very quickly realized we're gonna have to go through all of that. So we're gonna buzz right down. I'm taking off a bit of the edges. I don't advise doing this with the 80 grit on Mintabie because it can be a bit brittle, but I did it there just because it was more comfortable. It was starting to cut into my fingers a little bit and wasn't feeling too great, so I just nipped them off. Luckily enough, no bad chips from that, but something else will come up very soon. You'll see here I'm getting down into that potch, and you'll notice that I'm not just buzzing straight into it. I'm always sweeping across it. I'm trying to round it out, even it out, make sure that there's no harsh jump straight down, otherwise it'll get real hard to reach with the other burs later on. So here I've actually gone and used the 120. I was just a little bit nervous of some chipping areas, and we're getting close to the color bar, and the 120 is still pretty quick. It's not that much worse. And then the 600 I'm hitting everything. So this is all of the final shaping. 120 I was just hitting some scared areas. 600 I'm doing absolutely everything. You can see I got the texture out, the permanent marker, and just going over a few imperfections I found with the loop. So I just texture over them. The texture sinks into the pore, or in this case it was a little chip on the edge here. So I just wanted to make sure that was nice and worked out. And the texture really helps out with that. Bit of a Sharpie, it does wonders. Now here is where we hit a bit of a problem. So you'll see, I just thought, you know what, there's a few little spots here that are a bit of a problem. And I'm buzzing away at it, and I start to question what I'm seeing a little bit. You'll see exactly what I mean in a minute. We'll zoom in and have a real close look. But just like before, I'm just trying to grind out these little imperfections that I saw. These ones were just a bunch of little spots. You can see them right there with the texture. So the black just seeps into those little pores. I need to get rid of those. But I noticed that there was a little bit of a chip looking thing, and here in slow-mo you'll see pop. So I saw it coming, and I just wanted to angle the burr in a way that would encourage it to do the least amount of damage, and it turns out it was a tiny little chip, but you can see it's changed the shape of the stone, and I'm gonna have to change that up and take that back down again and round it out, get rid of that pointy corner. Nothing terrible, it's not a huge deal. but it does mean I need to redo it and I need to redo the edge. I was already getting the edge ready for future setting. So unfortunately, it's a bit of a rework on that edge. The whole edge needs to be changed just so that it's a nice comfortable shape, and then this is it. So this is what I came up with. A little bit of undulation, a few little dips going into the stone, and yeah, there's the back, which gives you a good idea of the shape. A pretty nice shape. I really liked the shape. It was growing on me as I was doing it, and the chip gave me no choice anyway. And then of course we go to the final stages, so the Nova points. We're going with the black 280, brown 600, 1200 grey, 3000 rose, and I will mention that with Mintabie, the 3000 rose actually starts getting a polish. It's really strange. I think the harder the rock, the quicker the polish, and the 3000 almost actually gets you there, a proper pre-polish, and then I'm just hitting it with the super cerium oxide. And yeah, that's it. We just go through it, hit everything. The 280 is the most amount of time, but the rest are pretty quick. Well, there we have it. We're at the end of another one. I am a pretty big fan of the shape. I'm not sure if it's too big to be a ring. It feels a little bit too small to be a pendant, but I do want to bezel set it, though it will be a huge challenge. A really good, a lot of red, a lot of green, a tiny bit of blue and yellow. It's pretty much got the full spectrum in it, and it's not overly shy for a Mintabie. I can see now why it was sent to me, because the amount of carve, if we have a look from the side, to get that potchy layer off and to hit the color again after that sand spot, it took a little bit more than I thought. So it does dip in, it's pretty concave in the middle. It means that setting edge does dip. It's gonna make bezel setting it pretty hard, but the other edges are actually quite good. You can see they're really nice, consistent edge. Same on this side, it's a little bit lower than this side, but pretty consistent across that edge. It's just this one where it's gonna dip in. But I do have a method of getting around that. I haven't practiced it yet, but I've got everything I need now, so there's no excuses, just got to get to it. And the other thing I'll note is that when Mintabie works, it really works. It takes a polish so much easier than most other opals. It's very strange. It might be because of the added hardness of it, but it takes a lot less to get this kind of really nice finish on it. I'm struggling to get a lot of light because I'm using a polarizing filter and it's removing a lot of the bounce, but you can see there, it takes a really nice polish even though it's so undulating. It's just really good. And thankfully, this one's not overly directional. It does hit a lot of red from one edge, and then it does go a little bit more green from the other edge. And in different lighting, it does shine very differently. In here, it's the most accurate, but even if I take it out to the kitchen, it goes really red and loses the green, which is a bit strange. The only major drama we had with it was this little chip that came off. Now I saw a little fault and I didn't know what it was going to be like. And you saw when I was carving that we were getting rid of this little nick in the bottom edge, and I realized then that it was just a little fragment wanting to come off the top corner. So it was a bit unfortunate, but I mean, you look at that and you're losing a micro fraction of a carat. It's really not that bad. I just took it off as gently as possible to make sure it didn't propagate further into the stone, and if you angle your burr right, you can just get it to just encourage it to come straight off and not go inwards. Though being Mintabie, the crack was pretty much set in stone. It's very tough stuff. It wouldn't propagate inwards unless it was already going deep. There you go. One of the pieces from Pulitzer's lot. I've got the other ones over here as well. So some bigger ones to go. You can see this one was one of the smaller ones. The little Cube Petey one there is a bit smaller again, but has some really nice color. I'm looking forward to these as projects. I think that'll be a double-sided one. This is just a big chunk that I've got to think about. I've got to plan that one. You can see that one's got a nasty surprise in there. A little black oxide bar. A little worm, we'll have to get him out. The other one is a bit cleaner, but has a big potchy middle. I'll have to think about that, but I think I can pull off a double-sided. Huge red bar inside. That might be the next one. Would be a really nice pendant stone looking at the size of it. But yeah, one more down. Hopefully fairly helpful. There were some interesting parts to this carving. As per usual, I'll see you in the next one. If you've got any questions in the meantime, throw them in the comments. I'm still managing to keep on top of them. Still a itty bitty YouTube channel, and that means you guys can reach me really easily. Though my Facebook Messenger is kind of flooded now, so that's a bit saturated. But if you hit the comments in YouTube, I prioritize that and you'll get through to me. So, see you down there. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.